You unlock this door with the key of kingdoms. Beyond it is another reality. A reality of light. A reality of darkness. A reality of, hearts, I guess.
Our hearts will be one.
You're moving into a land of both shadows and dusks, of not just, but the word, too. You've just crossed over into the alternate unreality where Sora is actually eaten by the crocodile during Neverland in Kingdom Hearts 1.
Kingdom Hearts isn't dark enough. There are no stakes. Why don't they more often kill characters in this Disney game with Chip and Dale and the little chameleon from Tangled? Fine, you maniacs. You want to get nuts? Then come on. Let's get nuts. Sora has faced a lot of mortal danger, and between you and me, he hasn't even made it out in one piece each time he does. But I wanted to do a little bit of an exercise today. It's like Winnie the Pooh's stoutness exercises, except we're hypothesizing about death. I wanted to go relatively far back in the timeline of the series' release history and make one teeny tiny change. And if you've been following the channel for a while, you may have noticed that I've been thinking about this tiny change for quite some time now. That is, what exactly would happen if Sora, cornered by Captain Hook and the pirates during the climax of KH1 Neverland, jumped to his untimely death by way of crocodile consumption? I would assume in this scenario that Peter either accidentally or more likely purposefully forgot to sprinkle him with pixie dust. Or maybe Sora just didn't believe hard enough, which is the biggest cardinal sin you can commit in the Disney canon, and is, as such, punishable by death. Now you might be thinking, well, this is kind of a simple answer. If Sora is eaten by the crocodile, he is dead. People die when they are killed. Then the rest of the series is awful. And while yes, maybe, that's no fun at all. I want to really walk through this step by step and pick apart the implications of this major change to the Kingdom Hearts universe. It should come as no surprise that Sora, as the walking embodiment of the key to all, is crucial in things in KH Land staying on the straight and narrow. Now bear in mind, I can only speculate. I don't have all the answers, nor do I have a degree in Kingdom Hearts lore or metaphysics. I'm going to do my best to hypothesize about what the most likely path forward for the rest of the game is based on what we know about the universe and its characters. But if I'm at a crossroads and I'm lacking a clear answer either because we have no precedents or I'm just missing something, I'm going to pick whatever keeps things interesting within the dark realm of possibility. This is all just a silly Kingdom Hearts thought experiment bordering on fanfiction, and I've actually had a lot of fun trying to string this all together, so I would love to hear your own thoughts about how things may or may not go in the comments. Alright, let's just get into it. So what are the immediate implications here? Well, Sora is dead. For the record, James Cricket is also eaten too, as I have no reason to believe that he wouldn't be. So no matter what happens from this point on, Kingdom Hearts Coded does not take place, and it is entirely arguable that Sora's sacrifice here was for the best. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Sora is not the only person living inside Sora at this point in the series, and that's a whole twisted ball of tangled up knots to untie, so we'll get to that later. Let's stay in the physical moment here and take care of the more immediate and granular matters first. Well, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that Donald, Goofy, and Peter Pan could take down the pirates and Captain Hook. I mean, in-game they probably can't, considering none of them are capable of landing the final blow on bosses, but story-wise, I'm taking the dog, duck, and the man who has a syndrome named after him. But without a Keyblade wielder in the realm of light who's displaying any interest in locking the keyholes, we can kind of safely assume that Neverland is going to eventually fall to darkness. To quote my friend Sam, Peter Pan, Wendy, Cubby, they all fucking die. But at the very least, a bunch of phantoms will eventually flock to the clock tower and throw a sick rave. I do also doubt that Peter Pan loans Tinkerbell out to Donald and Goofy, so the former two probably just sorta get killed by Heartless eventually. You don't need to get old to die, Peter. For the record, by this logic, Olympus Coliseum can never be sealed either, since that's only ever possible after completing the Hercules Cup, which Sora would only be able to access after sealing Neverland. Although Olympus seems to be handling the ongoing crisis relatively fine, and Phil appears to be able to corral multiple collectives of Heartless into his arena to fight for his amusement and presumably make a profit off of them. So maybe most of the mortal denizens of Olympus eat shit and die, and the gods are left like kind of floating out in gummy space, or maybe Phil is able to capitalize on market trends and really thrive off of the unstoppable climb in the Heartless population. Let's see, what else gets stopped in its tracks? Well, poor Mushu probably spends the rest of eternity trapped in a rock, since it's unlikely anyone's going to get their hands on Fireglow to free him. Perhaps most tragically, the remaining Dalmatian puppies stay trapped in chests. You could argue that maybe someone makes it to Hollow Bastion to free whatever's left, but as we learn in Traverse Town, blue chests with locks in them simply cannot be opened by non-Keyblade wielding hands, so those dogs are shit out of luck. I feel like I've been avoiding what happens with the major players here because it's about to get complicated. Okay, well, let's start out with the more minor of the major players. Where do Donald and Goofy go from here? Well, I would assume that they fuck off from Neverland by way of the gummy ship, which I guess is parked in a ship hold somewhere, don't think too hard about how that works, and then they try to regroup from there. I mean, their mission from King Michael is to follow the key, but the key is spiritually no longer tied to Sora and physically potentially at the bottom of the ocean in a distant planet. They were initially sent to Leon at the start of their quest, but as relatively knowledgeable as Leon is in KH1, I don't know if he fully has a grasp on Keyblade inheritance rules, Quite frankly, I'm not sure if I do either. They could just return to Disney Castle, but Michael isn't even home, and ironically, I doubt Minnie has all that much light to shed on the subject. So when Leon's no help and Michael is MIA, where do we go for answers? Well, I would think that leads us to the bearded man who loves sitting around and talking, and I'm not talking about regular Pat. We'll come back to this. What's going on with Riku at this point? Well, for the most part, nothing all too different. At this point, Riku has already left for the ruins of Hollow Bastion, where Maleficent resides. Presumably, he still swims through space or uses a corridor of darkness or whatever to hop over from Neverland to Hollow Bastion with Kairi's knot corpse in tow, and then meets up with his spooky stepmom in the castle chapel. But here's where we have to deal with two particularly important issues. One, what happens to the Keyblade, and two, what happens to Kairi's heart. Because the status of these two things is going to drastically impact what happens from here on out. Let's start out with the Keyblade. Well, we know that the Keyblade Sora receives in this game was originally intended for Riku. We come out of KH1 with that knowledge, and Birth by Sleep later shows us that Terra intentionally bequeathed the ability to wield the Keyblade to Riku 10 years before the start of KH1. Now, I'm using the word ability instead of right here. To my understanding, being bequeathed the Keyblade does not necessarily entail guaranteed rights to wielding one, more so a recognition of the potential and bestowing the opportunity to wield one. And clearly the Keyblade has a mind of its own to some degree. It jumped ship from Riku to Sora once the former gave in to the darkness on Destiny Islands. But really it's only ever on loan for most of KH1. Riku's even able to hold the Kingdom Key without issue when the two meet up again in Traverse Town because he was in fact the original intended wielder. This is opposed to, say, a Jack Sparrow who really has no claim on the thing at all. On top of this, Keyblades can act without their intended wielder being present. Just look at Aqua in 0.2, who gets bailed out by Terra and Ven's Keyblades despite neither of her friends actually being there. Now, does the Keyblade need to do anything or act on its own behalf just because Sora is crocodile poop? I mean, not necessarily. There's a shitload of abandoned Keyblades in the Keyblade graveyard, so it's not like each Keyblade always needs an assigned wielder or a line of succession. I mean, Aqua does take up Ericus's Master Defender after his demise, but it seemed more like a stroke of luck that she so happened to find it rather than it consciously seeking her out. So with that all in mind, let's join back up with Riku in Hollow Bastion. Just like in Vanilla KH1, he's meeting up with Maleficent after abandoning Captain Hook's ship. So here's my take on the Keyblade of it all. In the confrontation between Sora and Riku at Rising Falls in real KH1, Riku is able to reclaim the Kingdom Key, supposedly because his heart is displaying more strength than Sora's in that moment. To be honest, I never really got that just on its own. Like, sure, Riku reveals that he was supposed to be the guy either because Maleficent told him or he actually remembers his encounter with Terra, or a little bit of both, and then the Keyblade is for some reason like, shit, kid's got a point. But the Keyblade ditched Riku in the first place because he gave in to darkness, and if anything, Riku is even more darknessy now, like he and the Heartless have matching pajamas. So I guess all we have to go on is that Riku's will was simply stronger than Sora's in this moment, and that's enough for Sora to lose custody. But wait, we can't even have a moment like this anymore in our reimagining because the crocodile is currently flossing the excess Sora out of his teeth. Well, if it isn't clear yet, I think the Keyblade would and probably should just go back to Riku like it normally would, we just need to engineer how that's going to happen. So having established that the Keyblade can just kind of do its own thing, maybe it just blips into Riku's hand at some point, but if we really need to recreate some kind of moment, I guess Maleficent could just tell him about it. We know that she can keep track of basically whoever through her Deus Ex hologram thing, so she practically had front row seats to the reptilian eats. Maybe in this scene in the castle chapel, Maleficent's like, hey, remember Sora? Well, get a load of this, look at this. Wait, let me rewind. Now, does Riku give a shit at all? Hard to say. I mean, he did try to kill Sora a few minutes ago and would attempt to do so again not long after in the normal timeline, but regardless of his feelings on the matter, his heart would definitely be displaying a higher strength quota than Sora's at this time, and so maybe the Kingdom Key just shows up. Does the Keyblade need to be physically present in order for it to pass from one person to another? I mean, I don't think so, considering they can just manifest out of thin air and again seemingly operate on their own schedules. So great, Riku has the Keyblade a couple minutes early and nobody's on the way to stop him. Well, except for Beast. Beast is dead now. Riku definitely kicked his ass with a Soul Eater when the screen faded to black, and I'm willing to say that the Keyblade is a stronger weapon, so goodbye Beast. You said you wanted to kill characters. Okay, but now what? Because right now we're at a stalemate. Maleficent wants to access the final keyhole, as does Robes McGee over here, and Riku wants to save Kairi, and given the state of things right now, we're gonna have 3 quite unhappy campers on our hands. Well, to be honest, I don't see any reason why Ansem doesn't just move forward with his Grand Theft body plot just like in the normal timeline. Instead of Riku being upset about losing the Keyblade, he can just be upset about not knowing where Kairi's heart is, and we know that Ansem has full knowledge of its whereabouts, so it stands to reason that he can still lure Riku in and possess him under the premise that this will help him restore Kairi to normal. And since Ansem still needs control over the princesses that Maleficent was so kind to pre-package for him, Riku Ansem still ganks Maleficent. Regardless of whether or not she decides to float around on a rock or turn into a dragon or whatever, Maleficent is out of the picture and sent on her way to the age of fairy tales. So just like normal, Riku Ansem has 6 of the 7 princesses under his control, and they've actually got 2 Keyblades, one of heart and one of Kingdom. Their goal remains the same, release Kairi's heart so that the final keyhole may be completed. Speaking of Kairi's heart, for that we're going to need to take a trip down under. More under. Alright, I had a lot of trouble trying to figure out what would happen here, and I consulted with a ton of people about the different possibilities. At face value, I saw 3 potential outcomes for Kairi's recently dislodged heart, none of which included taking refuge inside the crocodile. But I did think it was possible that it may take refuge in someone else. I mean, that's what it did when she got defeated by the door in the secret place. But with Sora gone, what other options does Kairi have? For a long time, I considered sending her heart over to Riku as well, but it didn't seem right to have Kairi's heart take refuge inside, you know, the guy who spent the last half of the game trying to kill her previous heart apartment. While it looks like Riku is the only person left that Kairi has any connection with at all, I wouldn't even say that connection is a requirement. Ven took refuge inside Sora by pure coincidence as far as I'm aware, so maybe Kairi's heart to escape crocodilian doom really does just fly into a Donald or Goofy or Peter Pan, perish the thought, but I don't think that's what the universe would have happen. Speaking of Ven, by the way, I didn't forget about him. One of the other options I considered was that Kairi's heart would go to the final world. As KH3 teaches us, this is the destination for folks who meet their mortal end but still have ties to the world of the living, attachments that are so powerful they're unable to let go and move on. Of the 3 hearts that are squatting in Sora's body, I'd say all 3 of them have a pretty good claim to earning a ticket to the final world. Whether it's a connection to their friends, each other, their own bodies, or a combination of the 3, I don't see any of these kids going quietly into that good Nacht. This is, in fact, where I'm sending Sora and Ventus for the record. They're not out of the picture yet, but they will be, at this point, fairly removed from what's going on. Bear in mind, while the final world is definitely a safety net that could prevent a lot of people from truly dying, considering most folks probably have strong connections with people, places, and things in their lives, going to TFW is pretty much as good as being functionally dead, given how difficult it is to travel there and back without enacting dire consequences. Unless you're this lady, I guess. Remember when I said that Riku was the only active player who Kairi may have a connection with at this point? Well, remember this? Yeah, like all this? A lot more to unpack here. First, this very vague and powerful spell that Aqua cast on Kairi 10 years ago. It's truly hard to say whether this spell was a one-time deal or something that has kept Kairi safe for almost the entire series. I say safe in quotes. We'll get to that. But we do know that this protection spell that Aqua cast on Kairi is what kept her safe when the latter was ejected from Radiant Garden and ended up on Destiny Islands, at least according to the Ultimania. So like, had the spell expired after that, Aqua said, one day when you're in trouble, the light within you will lead you to a light of another, someone to keep you safe. When she says one day, is that literally just one day, or any one day for an indeterminate amount of time? Was the spell in play when Kairi's heart flew into Sora in the first place? Did it keep her from rolling her ankle when she made this sick jump in KH2? You might say, well, clearly the spell has run out since, you know, she eyes day in HK E3. But I mean, technically it always works out for Kairi. Like, sure, she dies, but that's only the level of death that we had previously discussed. It seems that whatever happens, Kairi is saved one way or another, potentially just making her effectively immortal. It could also be possible that the spell ran out a long time ago and she's only managed to survive due to other means, but there's no real way of knowing, I don't think. If it wasn't clear, I am arranging things so that Kairi's light leads her to the light of another, and that another is Aqua. Despite her current locale, I would think that Aqua's light at this point in time currently burns brighter than Riku's anyway, and what better person to send Kairi's heart to than the person who not only cast that spell in the first place, but accidentally bequeathed her a Keyblade. So here's where it gets really interesting, at least if you ask me, man who is trying to make it so this all makes sense and is also interesting. Kairi's heart safely finds its way into Aqua's body. Considering Sora didn't realize that this happened to him in OG KH1, I have no reason to assume that Aqua would notice either, but it doesn't really matter. From here, the events of 0.2 would continue as normal, but with a Michael-shaped wrinkle. The whole reason Michael is down here is to find Kingdom Key D and seal the door to darkness to stop the Heartless. Now that doesn't change, but it's certainly complicated by Sora being inside a big lizard's digestive tract and the only other Keyblade wielder in the realm of light being a very bad man. We essentially need to get someone to the other side to take Sora's place now, and at this point Aqua is really the only option. And how does Michael know that Sora is no longer in play? Because fucking Yensid let him know somehow, I don't know. Yensid can sense disturbances in the Force like when Ericus died, so he sent him a message to the Star Shard or pinged him on Discord or something, I don't know. Let's not dwell on this part, Nomura will explain it in the Crocodile Ultimania. Anyway, Michael has the knowledge that an entrance to the Realm Between, aka a world like Traverse Town, Twilight Town, or the End of the World, can appear when a world gets consumed. Aqua actually witnesses this happening at the end of Birth by Sleep Final Mix. So before Michael can get his hands on the KKD, our pseudo trio of AKM makes their way through the ROD and toward one of these recently opened world endy holes, as we call it in the SC, that's Science Community. We'll just say that the world that ends to allow this is something like a Neverland, just for the drama of it all. After all, there's no one up there sealing keyholes from the Heartless anymore, so it's highly likely we'll have a lot more opportunities for escape now. Now at this point, I'm sure Michael would try and pull some kind of switcheroo on the plan and be like, actually, why don't you stay down here in the Realm of Darkness and get the really cool inverse Keyblade? Meanwhile, I'll leap through one of these apocalyptic wormholes. I'll leap through one of these apocalypse portals and seal the door from the other side, ha! And Aqua says, I don't think so, you fucking rat, and then beats him up a little bit, also stealing his shirt and saying, this is mine now. You see, Aqua is slightly more aggressive because Kairi's heart is inside her, and Kairi didn't take anyone's shit in KH1. Aqua jumps on Michael's head to escape the Realm of Darkness and finds herself in the Realm Between. I suppose it could be any of the worlds in the Realm Between, but let's just say it's the end of the world for the sake of convenience. That's the closest one to Hollow Bastion for all we know. So now we have two parties set on a collision course, and not like in the fun way where there are two New Year's Eve get-togethers that eventually converge at an agreed-upon location. We have Riku Ansem searching for Kairi's heart so the final keyhole can be completed, and we have Aqua Kairi trying to seal the door to darkness and presumably find Kairi's body, as much as Kairi's heart is able to nudge Aqua in that direction. Naturally, Riku Ansem is ready and waiting for Aqua on the other side, probably knowing where he needs to be because he's from the future or some shit, and then he lures Aqua to the final keyhole, and this sets us up for an alternate battle between Riku Ansem and Aqua. Riku Ansem gives essentially the same speech about Aqua harboring the heart of one of the 7 princesses. Aqua then completely bodies this little twerp and doesn't even have to watch the cutscene more than one time. And since Aqua and Sora definitely both have self-sacrificial tendencies as a common personality trait, Aqua stabs herself with the Keyblade of Heart, freeing the hearts of the 6 princesses and reuniting Kairi's heart with her body. Also, remember Donald and Goofy? Oh right, this was a Disney game. Well, as all of this was happening, I find it decently likely they'd be able to get a hold of Yen Sid either by finding his self-relocating tower or just reaching out to him on WhatsApp. Assuming that this crisis isn't urgent enough to make Yen Sid get off his ass and part the Red Sea on these bitches, he directs D&G to continue their mission and fight alongside Aqua, who frankly doesn't need their help but could maybe use the company. So they show up, maybe they crash land the gummy ship and fall out onto Ansem's head. Speaking of, Ansem again wins over Riku and the latter's heart goes to the Realm of Darkness just like normal. By the way, I don't really know what would happen to Aqua here, assuming she also just turns into a shadow like Sora did. Hopefully Kairi is feeling as protective of her as she was of Sora and manages to save Aqua through the power of hugging, an offshoot of the power of winking that somehow makes a lot more sense. I mean, I don't see any reason why Kairi isn't able to rescue Aqua as well. She can probably pick her out from a crowd of shadows due to the connection they'd forged from Aqua housing her heart. Or maybe Aqua is something a bit stronger, since she probably has at least a little more darkness in her heart than Sora. I mean, she did literally eventually turn into anti-Aqua. Let's make Aqua's Heartless a wizard. Kairi hugs Wizard Aqua, and just like in real KH1, the gang flees from Hollow Bastion, just sub out Sora for Aqua. Now, maybe I'm getting overzealous here, or maybe that happened a long time ago in this script, but I think we can work this timeline to not only make some kind of sense within the confines of the established lore and series conventions, but also rewrite things so that Kairi is, you know, good, or at the very least better, or maintaining a higher degree of agency. So guess what? Kairi is speedrunning the series and just gets her Keyblade now, because honestly, honest to God, why not? We're just going to assume that Aqua gives it to her here. Now, if that sounds ridiculous and too easy, bear in mind that this is exactly what Riku does in KH2, and we never hear anything else about it. So just let me have this. If Riku can just have one, I figure Aqua, a Keyblade Master, and the very same person who bequeathed the Keyblade to Kairi should also be able to just manifest Destiny's Embrace for Kairi to wield. I should note, given that Kairi would be under the tutelage of an actual Keyblade Master, I think it's fair to assume that this Kairi would effectively outpace a true timeline Sora and be a more competent wielder than him by the time we reach the end of KH2 in this new timeline. Although Kairi had a hyperbolic time chamber forest and that didn't seem to do her much good, but I'm going to assume, for the sake of my own sanity, that Aqua is a more powerful resource to have. Now honestly, from this point, not too much is different. We're gonna tell Leon what happened, and he'll send us on our way back to Hollow Bastion to seal the final keyhole. This cutscene of Bell reuniting with Beast never happens because Riku fucking killed him. I'm assuming at this point our party of AKDG could now rescue any puppies and revive any summon gems, but even if they choose not to, the worlds being restored will take care of that for them. And be restored they shall, because now we just go chase Ansem into the depths of the end of the world, bonk him on the head a few times, and I am just now realizing that Roxas no longer exists and is instead replaced by Quax, a nobody girl who will be great friends with Donald Duck and will also be unable to dual wield. That is what we call a can of worms for another day. After Aqua just absolutely destroys Ansem SOD, maybe with some assistance from her 3 new minions, companions, the Light Gang links up with Michael and Riku at the Door to Darkness, and they seal that bad boy to move on to literal greener pastures. As they're pushing the door shut, Riku says to Aqua, "Take care of her," and Kairi pokes her head out from behind the others and says, "Bitch, I'll take care of myself." There is obviously no tearjerker separation, set to simple and clean here, since we already had one of those earlier in our game when Sora's limbs were separated from the rest of his body. Just like SDG do in the base game, Aqua, Kairi, Donald, and Goofy end up in a big grassy field chasing Pluto, who is leading them right into the organization's trap. Unfortunately for them, Aqua can immediately just turn Castle Oblivion back into the land of departure. Speedrun strats. Hey, how was that? Different, right? I mean, I've always wanted to do kind of like a Kingdom Hearts alternate history thing. I know it's kind of silly, but I had a lot of fun doing it. It was a really cool kind of thought experiment. I talked with a ton of people to get their takes on, you know, what would happen if A did this or X went to Z. So again, not like a concrete, this is for sure what would happen. And I tried not to make anything up, you know, like I tried to, you know, like how Nomura will be like, hey, power of waking is a thing. I tried to not do any of that. I just tried to use things that have already been established by the universe of the games. There are tons of different iterations that the script went through, like where Ansem wins, where he possesses Maleficent, where Kairi's heart goes to Riku, where Aqua never leaves the realm of darkness. So hopefully it was cool. Leave a thumb up going this way if you like it. If you're watching this on the day that it came out, which is March 27th, 2021, this is part of March Caprice, which is the celebration of the series' 19th anniversary. It's a big internet showcase that's been, you know, in the works and being planned for months now. I am part of, you know, a set schedule of content coming out today. So if you're watching this live or very shortly after this was uploaded, next up in the March Caprice schedule is Shibuya Gato, and she's doing a any percent speedrun of the Melody of Memory campaign. So go check her out on Twitch once you're done here, or check her out even if you're watching this in the future. She's still going to be there playing games, so go take a look. Thank you guys so much for the support. I hope you enjoy this wacky little project, and now here are my patrons and Twitch supporters. Bye!